Hello, today we are talking about something that scares me even more than food shortages. Yes. And we're going to give you the solution on what you can do about it at the end of this video.
Protect your family.
Yesterday, the United States passed what they called the Inflation Reduction Act. But guess what? According to CNN, this is the Senate's landmark climate change and healthcare bill. Guess what? It doesn't have anything to do with reducing inflation.
In fact, what it's going to do is it's going to cause your prices to go up. You're going to have to pay more on everything every month because of this. And we're going to talk about why in this video.
So when they put healthcare in a bill like this last time in the United States, 2008, our healthcare went from $450 a month with a $1,500 deductible per family. We were making $30,000 a year at the time, and we were able to afford it just fine. The Affordable Health Care Act came in, and guess what? Our insurance went up from $450 to $1,500 a month, and it would not cover anything until we paid the first $9,000 per person. We had 6 people in our family per year.
So what that means is that we would have to pay $1,500 a month. It's $18,000 a year. We would have had to pay $18,000 a year just to be able to say we had insurance, but not to actually ever use it. And then we'd have to pay an additional $9,000 out of pocket before it would cover anything on anyone in our family, which means that if we really needed health insurance, we would have to pay the first $27,000
a year,
every year, and we made $30,000.
No, it'd be more than that. 9 times 6 is what?
No. If only one person needed something is what I'm getting at.
Oh yeah, if just one person. But if all 6 of us needed to go to the doctor and we actually had something,
that wouldn't cover anyone until each one got to $9,000.
Yeah. So what's 9 times 6?
54.
Yeah, $54,000 is what it was going to cost us.
Plus the $18,000 that we already had to pay. So if everybody needed to do something that would be covered by insurance, that's what it would cost. But
on $30,000 a year.
Only one person needed it. It would cost $27,000 out of pocket before we would start being able to have the insurance reimburse things.
First of all, if you think that this Inflation Reduction Act is going to lower your health care, I got news for you. It's not going to happen. It is going to double or triple or quadruple. It will. They are lying. And when we moved from Kansas to Colorado, we went to go get new health care because it was a different state. They had subsidies.
We couldn't afford insurance.
Yeah, they had subsidies, so we just didn't have insurance. It was cheaper for us to pay the fines. It was cheaper for us to pay the fine than to get health care insurance. So, Colorado, when we were there, we signed up for the tax reduction subsidies.
And we didn't really want it, but what we figured is because they caused our price to go up so high, that, fine, let's let them pay for the extra cost that they've given us.
So then they threw us on Medicaid because we didn't make enough money, supposedly, to pay our own insurance, even though we were before.
They just sent us a letter saying you're on Medicaid now.
They just threw us on Medicaid.
We didn't have to apply for it. They just put us on there.
So they were able to say, millions of people have healthcare coverage now, thanks to Obama. Wasn't that nice of him? But guess what? When we actually needed to use the healthcare, when our son got really sick and when I was really feeling bad, we had to pay $30,000 out of pocket just to be able to get healthcare. Do you know why? They refused to take us.
Well, and the thing is that even though we technically had insurance, we'd go to the doctor and they would do the quickest thing they could to get us out of there without really treating, because the price that they were getting paid was so low. I mean, they were getting like $5 for an appointment for us going in there. And if you had hundreds of thousands of dollars in medical debt because you became a doctor, you just can't take no money to pay for yourself and all the people that work at your establishment. So that's why they did that. It makes total sense. So the politicians could claim that all these people were covered, but it was totally useless to us. And if we tried to pay cash, like our kids needed vaccinations for school, and I couldn't get it anywhere. And so we went to pay.
Walgreens couldn't even pay for it.
I went to Walgreens and they said, oh, you're on Medicaid, we can't take you. And I said, okay, well, can I just pay cash for it? They said, no, we can't, because that law made it illegal for us to take cash from you if we know you're on Medicaid. So basically, politicians could claim that we were covered, and we actually had nothing. And we couldn't get anything because it was illegal.
So then when our son had serious medical problems, We couldn't figure out what was wrong with him. We had to go to another state to get him health care, and over about 20 months, we paid over 20 months, we paid about $30,000 out of pocket between my son and I for health care. It's not going to be cheap, guys. If you think your health care is going to go down with this, it's not.
But the thing that's even worse is not only is it not going to be cheap, but the inflation problem that's happening right now is going to get worse. You know, gas prices were going up, and they seem to be going down for the moment only because a lot of people decided not to drive this summer.
So they got what they wanted.
But the gas price problem hasn't been solved, and the price of things at the store is going up. And as the gas prices continue to stay high, companies are going to charge more to send stuff to the stores, and that's going to be passed on to you. So you are going to find that when you go to the store, that thing that you paid $5 for last year is going to be $10, and then it's going to be $20, and it's going to keep getting to be more. And the problem is these kinds of things where the government intervenes to basically spend a lot of money that they don't have is going to cause all the prices to go up, because as some people have to pay more, they pass the price to their customers, and that's you at the end.
But look at what they did, guys. So Biden specifically said, I am going to cut fossil fuels. So he cut the Keystone pipeline. He cut all of these permits, made it almost impossible for them to drill all this. Gas prices went up to over $5 a gallon. Okay. So then guess why gas prices are going down now? Because no one's going anywhere. They got what they wanted. They forced you to not go on vacation.
Yeah, to not have the life that you want, to not go on vacation.
They did it.
And not only, but if you're going to work and you drive 20 miles to work, then they're just forcing you to pay more.
They're punishing you. Now, it's very interesting because this says this is.
And if you think, wow, this is going to be really good for the earth or really good for healthcare.
Okay, hold on. This is an absolute historic investment in climate change, according to White House climate advisor.
So if you think that and you're driving a long way to work and you're spending a lot of money at the pump, don't complain. You are choosing to pay that price in order to have that if you are one of the people that supports that.
Yep.
If you're not a person that supports that, you're just being dragged along by people outside of your control. And in that case, we have solutions that we're going to share with you.
But first, let's talk about one other thing. This is all about, oh dear, the sprinklers just went off. Are we okay? This is about climate thing going around. First of all, that's a farce. Secondly, because I know if Gore and Obama actually believed that this was true, they would be living in a tiny house on a third of an acre
instead of a
somewhere.
$70 million mansion on the shore where, in theory, if the oceans were going to rise, their house would be flooded out.
But listen to this. If the global climate push succeeds in mitigating the most disastrous impacts on the planet in decades, to come, Biden, who did more than anyone else who held the presidency to respond to the threat, will come to be remembered for taking action. Well, good for him. The same will be the case if a new era of electric vehicles is enshrined by the energy legislation and the U.S. begins to turn its back on internal combustion engines, a cornerstone of U.S. freedom of movement and prosperity for decades.
So what they're actually saying is, by cutting that they know that gas is a cornerstone of your freedom and prosperity. And
by keeping prices low.
And they want to take that away.
They say it. It's straight there.
You they don't want you to be prospering. Now, the other thing is, if you're a proponent of electric cars, that's fine, except that what that means is instead of doing gasoline, you're going to be using coal to fund your car. Electric cars run on coal, and the batteries are toxic to the environment.
And they're made with fossil fuels.
And the process that makes them is toxic to the environment, and the process that recycles them is toxic to the environment. Go out and Google it right now if you're into that sort of thing. All those solar panels that were pushed in California 20 years ago now need to be recycled. And guess what? They think it's going to damage the environment worse than the environment was saved by that. Now, the other thing is on electric cars is that there's not enough power to fund them all. But there are a lot of environmental initiatives that are out there. And what those do is they make it nearly impossible to, really pretty much impossible to make any new electrical plants. So that means that the electricity we have right now, which is barely making it, which is why a lot of you have brownouts in the summer, It's because there's not enough capacity, and now we want to put millions more cars on that same
Doesn't even
grid.
make sense.
But the problem is the environmental rules will not allow them to make more power
Yep.
to support those cars. So it's going to cause a disaster, but the politicians just figure, I'm not going to have to deal with that, and we'll just push it down
Yeah.
the road to another politician.
Yeah.
But you are going to pay the price
Yep.
of more expensive things, not being able to go places
Yep.
and stuff like that.
All right, what can you do about this? One,
Oh, now, partly on the what can you do about this. Some things you can't control, and those things you just have to work around them. So we're going to talk about the
so
things
what
you
can
do
you
to protect
control?
yourself.
First of all, you have to get out of debt now. You have 1, maybe 2 years before this kicks in that you can still get your stuff paid off. It is imperative. If you are not having to fund your debt, you can pay $50 for a loaf of bread if it comes to that, which it probably will at this. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. And so,
because debt is paying for nothing.
Yeah.
Because something that you wanted before that you really didn't need, you decided you
Yeah.
deserved it.
get your debt paid off now. If your income is such that you don't have the money to pay off your debt, you need to go get a second job. You need to go get a third job. You have to get it done. Third, stop using your credit cards. Period. I'm going to do another video on this. There is no reason for you to be using a credit card. None.
And refinancing your house to pay off all of your debts
Nope.
and your credit cards is not paying off debts.
No.
It's moving debts to somewhere else. And it's moving debts to somewhere else where you have to pay it for 30 years.
Yeah. Now, get these things in order. Get your stockpile up. Get your what you need now while it's cheap. I know you're saying, well, everything's expensive. No, it's cheap now. It's going to be very expensive coming in the next year or two.
And when you stockpile basic things.
Yes.
Like staples,
Canned
like
goods
rice
and your
and
food and your rice and
beans
flowers
and
yep,
canned goods
yeah.
and flour
Yeah.
and oil and stuff like that. Don't stockpile fancy
Yeah.
designer food.
Now, let me say, as Christians, we know that God has put the kings in place on the earth. The Bible specifically says he appoints the rulers. So we know that even though we don't agree with what's going on, God has put that in place. Why? Because everything's falling into place for the return of Jesus to come back. So, as Christians, we are not afraid of this because we know that God is going to take care of us. He's already promised to take care of us through whatever we have to go through. Secondly, we know that God is actually in control, putting these leaders in control. He's allowing them to destroy our country for his purposes. The United States is not going to be a superpower in the end times. When the Bible talks about Israel being attacked and no one is there to help them in the Ezekiel 38 and 39 war, which it's all coming together for that, guys. Look at Russia, Iran, and Turkey are already talking. It's crazy watching it happen before your eyes. But God is allowing all this to come into place. So I know my thumbnail and title was like, oh, this scares me. It's not actually scaring us. I'm just using that as a title because, you know, that's what everybody wants. But guys, as Christians, we know we are taken care of and it's going to be okay.
Well, and when you live in a country where you have the ability to vote, then vote your conscience. Vote for the thing that you think is going to make things better.
Well, no, they need to stop voting their conscience. That's what got us into this mess in the first place.
Well, no, that's voting their desires. You vote if you think that something is going to make it better, which, if you're a Christian, vote for the thing that you think is going to make it better. But when it does, if it doesn't go that way, God has appointed the rulers and authorities, and so then just figure out, what do I need to do to take care of my family now?
Yep. All right, and we're going to give you a treat, guys. Our Dining on a Dime cookbook, ebook, volume 1 for free in the description below to help you out because it will help you save money and eat better. I guarantee it, guys. Go watch this video next, and we will see you guys next time.